I'll show you what the problem was. So the guys went ahead, they went under the sidewalk, they sleeved it. We got that dual wall culvert pipe underneath the sidewalk. We're gonna put our 3-inch plus through there. We got a 6-inch catch basin right here. This is where they took the water. There's the downspout. There's another one up there. We're gonna wire them both together. The one downspout is not responsible for very much water. So there's like about 3 feet of gutter on this one downspout. Not really responsible for a whole lot, so we definitely don't want to use a 4-inch line because you'll never wash all the debris through it. We got a sediment trap right there. We had a lot of tree roots. This is a beautiful ornamental tree, multi-stem. We didn't want to harm it, so found an area where we can get this basin in. We're going to over dig underneath the basin so we can put pea stone under the basin. We're going to put fabric and pea stone underneath that catch basin. We're also going to take this level. We're going to put this level on the line. We're going to make sure that we have slope away from the house. Get yourself a nice 4-foot level. Super easy. You just, when the bubble's in between those two lines, you're completely flat, and you want the bubble to be towards the upstream portion of your line. So if it's running downhill away from the house, it'll look something like that. It's what you want. All right, so Trevor's got the 4-foot level on our line. You can see how the bubble's going towards the house upstream. That's what you want. We got nice slope on that line. Perfect. Put a piece of fabric under your catch basin. That way, when you put your pea stone under the catch basin, you have fabric between whatever your subsoil is and your stone. That way your stone, it'll always have voids. The reason why that's important, where you can take a small drill and drill some holes in the bottom of the catch basin so that it doesn't hold water after a rain event. Those little holes will drain in the pea stone underneath it. It'll fill all the voids underneath it. And that way it'll cover a greater area so that the subsurface soil can take in what's left for water in that catch basin. If you just drill holes and you just plop it down on, say, clay, it's not going to leach very much water that way. It's not going to come in contact with very much of the subsurface soil. This is our 3-inch plus. It's a little larger. So what does our 3-inch plus do for us? It's 8% more area than your standard 3-inch pipe. So 8% greater area, guys. All right, so the guys pulled the 3-inch plus through the sleeve under the sidewalk. So now we know we don't have a belly under there. We don't have to worry about that 3-inch line dipping nice and straight. Oversized the catch basin hole. There's room for stone. And then, of course, like all of the French Drain Man products, this just connects quickly. You go ahead and you just cut your pipe. Now, homeowners, if you don't use a box knife daily, don't use a box knife. It's too easy to cut yourself. Just buy a hacksaw on Amazon. They're not that much money. You know, I'm pretty sure that's like a $12 kind of item. And you just go ahead and just cut right through with a handsaw, just a hand hacksaw on Amazon. And it's nice and safe. And that's all you need. That's all you'll need. And then some scissors to cut your tape here, because you want to tape every connection point. That way you know it's watertight. And this is not duct tape and it's not Gorilla Tape. This is tape that's specifically made for drainage. It's extra sticky. It's got extra adhesive on it. It's extra stretchy. It forms to the shape of the fitting, and it seals it off really good, because you don't want roots to find their way into your system. And this is where they're going to find their way into your system if you don't tape it up real good. So be generous with a really good plumbing tape. So Cal's using our copper sock. He's cutting it with some scissors and then just pulling it open, and he's pinning it to each side of the trench. This copper is poison to trees and shrubs. They're going to push their roots away from our drain line, we're never going to have to worry about root intrusion, or in some cases, big shade trees, the roots will grow so big and so heavy that as they're growing thicker, they'll crush any pipe. It could be PVC Schedule 40. It doesn't matter. It'll crush any pipe. Tree roots will crush any pipe. It'll just restrict it. As the tree roots get larger, eventually the pipe just collapses. So by putting this copper sock up against both walls of this trench, we know that we're never going to have any roots. No root intrusion. And again, if there was big shade trees, things like that, you'd have to worry about the roots crushing the pipe. I had a subscriber say, a solid corrugated pipe, roots can get in it? No, they crush it. Just like they'll crush PVC Schedule 40. We see it all the time. The guys that are in this business and they're digging up old systems all the time, they'll tell you the same things. All right, the guys did a great job. They got this leaf filter nice and straight, worked as a team. You can see the copper sock. It's pinned to both sides of the wall here to protect all of our connection points as we go right in between this little Alberta spruce and this boxwood hedge. And then you never know what's going to happen for landscape. People pull these shrubs out and then they'll put something in different and update it. Next thing you know, you got something really aggressive. Kale's going to tape those connection points up so that we have a watertight connection. And again, you know, that's your second line of defense. Your first line of defense is the copper. No roots are coming through there. They're not. And then we're going to seal it up really good. No roots can possibly get in this system. We got that Y right there. The guys already got that covered up. You can see we got nice slope. The line goes uphill. This is a picture-perfect installation. You know, another thing that I'd like to point out, that is one piece of pipe from here all the way to the catch basin. And I just find that to be so important, to have one continuous run of pipe versus, you know, every 10 feet you're gluing something. And then because this happens to jog over, you can't even go 10 feet with a stick of, say, PVC, because you got to cut it and put a fitting on it. Every time you glue a fitting, the PVC, this PVC pipe's not hanging in a house. This is outside where you're going to have the ground settle. It's going to shift. It's going to move. So guess what? PVC glue joints, they're not a rubbery compound. So they just crack, and then the roots get in right at every fitting. So the guys do a great job. They connect to the Y, run all the way to the catch basin. Then they connect to the catch basin, run all the way to the leaf filter. So we minimize our points of connection. When you lay out your system, if you have to use some external couplers to put a few pieces together, you know, do that out in the lawn, because that's not going to be a problem. But don't do that around the trees and shrubs. All right, Kale's connecting our pop-up emitter for a 3-inch line. We sell an adapter for our pop-up emitter so that it accepts 3-inch corrugated line. He's got stone under it. He's got fabric under it and a pocket of stone between the fabric and the pop-up. We're not going to tape the pop-up on because we do want the water to leak at the pop-up emitter. When we're done moving water during a hard rain, whatever's left in this pop-up emitter elbow will just leach into the subsoil because we didn't tape it. I don't feel that there's any need to drill holes in your pop-up fitting. I wouldn't drill holes in the not quite a 90. If you just don't tape the connection point, everything will leach away from that connection point. The key is having a really good pocket of stone around it, and especially under it. That way, the water that's in that elbow will move through the voids of the stone, come in contact with more subsurface soil. That way, your pop-up emitter doesn't freeze in the wintertime. I just wanted to point out that in the landscape here, the guys are using the black covers because they get lost in the landscape. I just wanted to point that out. That catch basin is going to have the black 12-inch round, and so is that sediment trap up there. Look how nice this looks. Super muddy conditions right now. The guys did a really nice job. You can see they graded out this landscape bed. Beautiful job as far as attention to detail. That has been met, but I wanted to point something out. Right there is the pop-up emitter. So we take the line underneath the sidewalk and down. We drop nice and far. I know that we're going to empty that line out. It's not going to be holding any water. That's super important when you're making that decision. How far do I go with my downspout discharge line? You want to go to the point to where the grade breaks and you have good drop. Now our black tops get lost in landscape. Here's a black, look at this. I could barely find it. Yeah, it's covered in dirt, but you can still see after we go ahead and spray this off with the hose, it just gets lost in here. So the black and the green, if you go ahead and you interchange them as needed, the green gets lost in the lawn, the black gets lost in those bark beds. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. It supports the channel. If you have any questions regarding this installation, leave them in the comments section. I'm your host, Robert Sherwood, and until the next video.